Imagine you are playing an ordinary Roblox game, or one that seems like an ordinary Roblox game. But then, you start to discover more and more about its true nature, and even worse, you find out that you're not alone. This seems to be a bit of a niche, yet well-known trope in Roblox games, where a game has sentient NPCs secretly plotting against you, or trying to help you on the other hand. In this video, we'll be exploring and comparing two series which I have already made videos on, Construction by Wozes and the Maybe You Remember It Wrong series by Record Kyle 123. So yeah, let's get into the video. Construction, like I said, is an exploration horror game by Wozes. In this game, you go through a ton of weird areas and encounter a ton of weird characters. The best way I can describe it is if someone, or if a very advanced AI, tried to recreate a retro Roblox game and basically mashed all the elements of one together. There are ragdolls, classic books, classic NPCs, classic billboards, basically anything you can think about old Roblox. In fact, I'd even say that this is if the backrooms existed inside Roblox and tried to replicate the old style of a game. It also really does a good job at creeping you out. The first half of the game barely has any music, with just a creepy ambience constantly playing in the background. The only signs of life are barely moving NPCs, and you have no idea what the hell is going on in this game. The second half of the game, however, is where things start to get crazier. You end up meeting an NPC who's probably the most alive one you have seen so far. I want to help. And you know what? They're also the nicest NPC you would meet in the game. They live up to their name. I want to help can move normally, they can talk, they can even open doors. Huh, you know what? Maybe NPCs in this game aren't as bad as I've...
No, get back!
Oh. So yeah. It turns out that these seemingly lifeless ragdolls that you encounter all around the game are actually alive. And even worse, they are not on your side. The ragdoll's only spoken line comes from this dude where it asks you to leave them alone. So yeah, after I want to help is brutally murdered, the game takes a complete turn. This is where we start hearing music, and the ragdolls, as we can see, are clearly pissed, capturing you and locking you into a prison. You actually start to feel a sense of danger in the final part, now knowing there are things here that want you dead. Eventually though, you meet another friendly NPC named Operator at the end of the game who offers you a ride in the elevator. However, they are also killed and you are plunged to the depths, leaving the story of Construction on a cliffhanger. Part 2 is still being developed and I hope it comes out someday because I really enjoyed Construction. It really did feel like the Roblox version of the Backrooms, and it nailed the liminal space style. It is known mostly thanks to videos such as Send Pristas, but it doesn't really have that many players unfortunately. I can understand that though, because the game doesn't have much replayability due to mostly being an exploration game with one ending. And at times it can be boring and it can feel like a walking simulator to some people. Well, now that we got the gameplay and the story out of the way, I'd like to start talking about my theories about Construction and what the game is exactly supposed to be. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this game might have been made by an AI or someone else who tried to make a classic Roblox game by mashing as many old assets in there as they could. Whoever or whatever made the game was able to replicate classic Roblox nearly perfectly, with them including studded areas and old assets. However, the game still ended up as a liminal mess, with completely randomly generated areas and weird motionless NPCs everywhere. The game might have been abandoned for a while though, except the NPCs and ragdolls have actually grown quite accustomed to it, preferring solitude. However, you have a player joined and it's made very clear that you're not supposed to be here. You meet NPCs who are either friendly or motionless, probably without consciousness. The friendly NPCs, like I Want to Help an Operator, have the same clothing, which could mean they were programmed with the sole purpose of helping players, kind of like guides or tutorial NPCs. And then there are the ragdolls, who shouldn't even be alive, going rogue and killing foes who they dislike, wanting to be left alone. You find a sign at the beginning of a game saying free them, which could mean that while the ragdolls prefer solitude, the NPCs are tired of being stuck in this digital hell. Now, please take my theories with a grain of salt, as they could just be headcanons, but the implications are still interesting nonetheless. I can't wait for part 2 to be released someday so we can see more of the story. But anyways, that's all I gotta say about construction, so let's move on to the next part of the video. Unlike Construction, the Maybe You Remember It Wrong series by Red Kyle 123 is actually less obvious in its true nature. There are 11 games in the series, all of which are the creators' archived games from the early to mid-20s. So basically, Maybe You Remember It Wrong works more like a ARG. Because these games are technically, or literally, very old, they are actually quite accurate to what most old Roblox games looked like back then. But even if these are archived games that are clearly old, what can possibly be wrong with them? Well, dear viewer, it seems that one day Wrecker Kyle 123 had the brilliant idea to recreate his old games and turn them into horror experiences to tell a neat little story. You see, one of the main things in his games are the NPCs, who are styled after player avatars during the 2010s. You see, just like with Construction, there is something sinister hiding in these games, and that includes the NPCs. Funnily enough, the NPCs have more relevance in the series than the ones in Construction, who only become important in the second half. And judging from the titles of the games, the theme of the Maybe Remember It Wrong series is abandonment and presumably nostalgia. I think you know where I'm going with this. Apparently over a decade ago, Wrecker Kyle 123 made a ton of these games, with most of them having NPCs. Eventually though, he abandoned them, leaving the NPCs angered and vengeful. Alright, so I'm going to try to explain every game very quickly for those of you that are new to this. The Butler, a game where you're woken up by your butler who may or may not be a murderer. The bad ending is actually revealed that he is an evil skinwalker. Forgotten, a game where you summon multiple NPCs to a fountain where you're kicked right after. Outdated, one of the scariest games in the series, where you witness multiple murders and experience a break-in. The biggest monster of the game appears when you look up. Old friend hangout. One of the more important games of the series where the main antagonist, Bartender, is introduced. He asks you to recruit NPCs for a party, but then kills you right after, swaps bodies with you, and escapes the game. He's also not gonna appear later. Reminiscent, a game where you are instructed to activate all the screens before the time runs out to bring back all the NPCs. Fading from Memory, another scary game where the game shuts down and starts to decay. Left to Rot, a game where you are haunted by a ghost and get invaded by aliens. Yeah, this is one of the more weirder games. Sweet Irrelevance, a Candyland where you break the rules by eating an apple and are turned into a chocolate as a consequence. It's terrifying but also kind of goofy at the same time. Longing, a cookie-themed game where you end up at a party with a skinwalker dog. Decaying, a game where you play as Wrecker Kyle 123 who lost the ability to move due to internet being disconnected, and are brutally murdered by your clones. Ignored, the final game in the series where you rob a bank as Wrecker Kyle 123 before you get caught by the bartender. It turns out that ever since he escaped, he has been recruiting other NPCs to take revenge on him. Wrecker Kyle 123 exits the bar, only to find himself surrounded by all those he abandoned. He is set down and killed by the NPCs. Ending the story. These 11 games aren't even all of Wrecker Kyle 123's creations. If you go to his profile, you'll see he has a ton of other bizarre games. Some that are also horror, others that are just plain weird. In fact, Record123 is actually pretty active on his YouTube channel, uploading videos on small games a ton. He even comments a lot on other videos about his games, so he's pretty active with the community. Now anyways, what were exactly these NPCs, and why were they sentient in the first place? Well, thankfully, this time we actually got an explanation in one of Record123's comments. Let me just read it out for you. So, my early games had a lot of free model viruses, and the idea is that those monsters are the free model viruses, as they had so much time to fester to something physical. Same with Reminiscent, with everyone gone and me abandoning it, a free model virus was able to mold itself into something. This is true for the various non-NPC monsters. As for Left to Rot, is a ghost using the old Stamper tools. I did this because that game is one of the few where I actually built an entire building with those tools in build mode, a now deleted edit mode. So yeah, I guess this actually explains very well why weird things were happening in the games, such as Left to Rot, including the doors randomly opening and me getting attacked out of nowhere. I also like this explanation because it somehow just fits with the vibe of the games, and if you pay attention you might notice that some of these games are, well, just broken. Seeds don't work properly, you can't pick things up, and you just keep getting the feeling that things aren't working like they're supposed to. This is a real thing that happens with old Roblox games that haven't been updated in ages. Its code begins to rot, and things stop working. This is probably why the games are the way they are, and perfectly explains the NPC's reasons for vengeance. I also noticed that unlike in Construction, there are no NPCs who are friendly with you. Those that actually communicate with you end up backstabbing you. It really gives you a sense of helplessness and isolation. For me, personally, something that's really charming about the games is their older style. Due to the authenticity of the games, they are able to successfully be nostalgic, in a way. The avatars, sounds, and design as a whole is on point for the 2010 era of Roblox, which is what I like about the series as a whole. And even though I only joined Roblox in 2019, I'm a LARPer, I know. I don't, no, I just like the style. Yeah. Also, the ending of Ignored kind of reminded me of that one Simpsons short where Bart is brutally murdered by the toys he tortured. I don't know, just right when I learned about the lore of the game, that's the first thing that came to my mind. You could even say that Bart was, ended. You know, he was bartended. Bartender, get it? Get it? It's a funny joke. Come on. Bartender. Like he ends Bart's. No?
Oh,
okay.
brother, this guy's...
In the Roblox games catalog, you may mostly find popular games like Rivals or Forsaken. But when you search deep enough, or end up looking for strange games through unique means, such as Surreal Game Finder, you might end up in games that were long abandoned. And in some of those games, you may just find out that you're not alone. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Have a good day.